Bow, weep, grana, weep, bong, and welcome back to my channel where we talk about all things Transformers and Transformers action figure related. And today I'm coming back at you with another comic book review. So this is part 2, issue number 2 of the Transformers Shattered Glass line from IDW Comics. This is where the Autobots are the bad guys and the Decepticons are the heroic good guys, so everything is all topsy-turvy and flip reversed. So this is the one that I got with my Hasbro Pulse take on a Shattered Glass Megatron. If you want to see my take on this figure and my review, you can check that. Now there should be a little link appearing somewhere on the screen. And yeah, he's a mixed bag. Definitely a mixed bag. The comic, though, oh, that's another story. So let's start off with this fantastic, awesome cover. Because I got this from Hasbro Pulse, we get this kind of shiny foil going on here and this awesome artwork. It's also more of a kind of cardboard rather than a paper cover on this, but it's absolutely gorgeous. A little bit of embossedness going on here as well. That's pretty much it on the thing, but look at it. Look at how gorgeous that artwork is. The heroic Megatron launching himself into battle there, looking absolutely fantastic. It is issue number 2, as it says there. And then if we open up this bad boy, we can see that we get Transformers Shattered Glass. We get who it's written by, the art, the colors, and all of the lettering as well. And an awesome Shattered Glass Autobot logo. The main factors in this one are Megatron, Starscream, Optimus Prime, or Orion Pax as he's commonly known during this one, and also Prowl. Prime looking super evil on this pose here. So last time we were covering these, the story was as so. We met Ratchet and he was sending out people to hunt down Starscream, and that person that he sent out was of course Blur, and of course at the end the awesome Starscream kind of tricked Blur a little bit into kind of melting himself and pouring basically lava on top of him so he could no longer move, and that would slow him down. So this issue opens up in the Sea of Rust where a shadowy cloaked figure is waiting on the Starscream, and that is of course the heroic Megatron. He's saying it's been hundreds of cycles since he's seen another Decepticon, but something must be happening if he's now being searched out by the Seekers. When Starscream lands, he says, "Megatron, my old friend, I was worried that the coordinates you gave me were wrong because this is the Sea of Rust and it messes with your circuits." Megatron is aware of this, but slowly, because of his injuries as well, the Sea of Rust kind of hurts Starscream. Megatron is kind of puzzled as well about why they need him. He thinks they can't possibly still need him. Starscream then wakes up and says that he feels like a Dinobot's chew toy. And Megatron says, well, certainly imagine that's how he would look if he was a Dinobot chew toy. He then kind of relays the story to Megatron of his battle with Blur and how there's now a massive price on his head, so he needs some help. Starscream then, looking around the bunker, starts to reminisce and say that this reminds him of the first time that they met. And the first time that they met was during a protest. So what's interesting from this point is that everything's kind of still the same. It's not like the Autobots are the ones trying to rise up. It's still the Decepticons rising up as the lower ranks on Cybertron against the hierarchy of the Autobots. But obviously they took a little bit of a different tact, as did the Autobots. So we see the protests outside of the Senate, and we see Megatron here stood in front of Prowl. And he's kind of a little bit annoyed because Prowl has put his hands onto Ratbat, and Megatron confronts him and says that this is no good. He shouldn't be acting that way. We also see Jetfire here. I cannot wait to pick that figure up. Stood with Starscream, so they are buddies even in this universe. Prowl mentions again about Prime's relationship with Megatron and says that Megatron can only get away with the way that he acts as well because of his friendship with Orion, obviously referring to Orion Pax, otherwise known to you and I as Optimus Prime. Megatron then grips Prowl and basically punches Prowl right in the grill. And this is how Starscream remembers it. Megatron then suggests, you know, that's how you remember it. But Megatron, who is definitely looking a little bit damaged here as well from living in the Sea of Rust for so long, kind of reminds me of the look at the Transformers the movie after he's fought with Prime. He remembers it very differently. He remembers this as the first time that he was arrested and that he was put into prison. But the person who got him out of prison was Orion Pax, at this time, aka Optimus Prime. During this time, Megatron is having a conversation with Prime, saying he won't join him, he doesn't want to join him. Awesome in the background there as well. You can see a little sound wave there in the back. That's an awesome detail. And Megatron and Prime are arguing because what Megatron is saying that Prime basically took all of Shockwave's emotions away. He brought back torture to try and change things, and he uses secret police basically to try and get rid of people who are trying to go against the government. Prime then threatens Megatron and says basically, if I had the power to do what you'd say, I'd watch your voice box unless you want to join Senator Shockwave, which enrages Megatron. And he flies a punch at Megatron, and what does that do? Shatter the glass. So we now see in this story how Prime gets his shattered glass. It's from a punch from Megatron. Prowl and the other bots come in then and actually separate the two. Prowl asks if he wants Megatron arrested, and Prime says no, this is a personal matter and I'm off duty, so it doesn't matter. Megatron then reminisces about that being the last time that he and Prime spoke before the war, and we can see that both Megatron and Starscream are back on the Sea of Rust. Starscream is trying to convince Megatron to come back and be the commander once more, and Megatron says, I am not your commander. Once he held that title, but I was never worthy of it. You may have forgotten what leadership cost us. So they then start to think about, and we get a nice flashback to the last battle that Megatron had before the separation of the Decepticons and they spread themselves across the galaxy. And we see that this is actually on Earth, and he tries to remind him. We see Shockwave here, we see quite a lot of different cons here as well, which is really cool. And Megatron is given a really heartfelt spark here. He says that Starscream would usually write these for him, but this one comes from the deepest corners of his own spark, where he's rallying his troops before the final battle with the Autobots. And he realizes now that he has to martyr himself. He said that he was in his final battle with Prime and he had to martyr himself. He died during this colossal battle that he has with Prime, and we see that Prime is towering over Megatron's body here. Once beaten, he doesn't know how long he laid there on Earth, but finally his stubborn spark brought him back to life. He then found the ship that they came in, repaired it, and crawled his way back to Cybertron. Megatron sees himself here as a coward and a failed leader. Starscream says that he never took him for a coward, Megatron. He remembers things very differently. The way that Starscream remembers this is that the heroic Megatron saved Thundercracker from being blown apart by Bumblebee. And what's interesting here, and this is cool, is you can see this is their take on Bumblebee. Obviously looks like Bug Bite. He gets blasted, and this is what makes him need to turn into Goldbug. So that's pretty cool that he gets damaged and turned into Goldbug. It's not a separate character. He is Bumblebee. He got damaged by Megatron and needed to get turned into Goldbug. I like that. That's very, very cool. And at this point, Megatron then realizes that they need to save the Decepticons. Megatron tells the Decepticons, because Prime and the other Autobots are arriving, they need to get themselves to safety. The other Decepticons need to carry on this fight another day. The fight was always going to come down to Megatron or Prime, and only one would stand and one would fall. And now that time has come, so the other cons need to go away and get themselves to safety. Megatron says that Starscream's always had a way with words, and that's kind of reminded him that he was a leader. And even if he accepts what he's saying, it's no cause for people to rally behind him. He can't be that leader again. But what Starscream says is that he has information that can change everything. And what is that information? That information is that Starscream used to muse about a theory about using his spark as the ultimate indestructible safe for information. He tells Megatron that's not a theory anymore, and he has the information that can bring the Titans back. So Starscream and Megatron, it looks like they are going to combine together, bring the Titans back so that the Decepticons can finally win this war. Absolutely fantastic, really interesting. Within the next issue, we can see this is Starscream's issue. I'll be waiting for that to come with my Hasbro Pulse order on this figure. And then on the inside, we get the Megatron. We get the Megatron. And then we also get an advert for Back to the Future, Transformers vs. Terminator. This is definitely something you should pick up. In fact, both of these, very, very, very good comics. And then we get a little bit of an advert here for the rest of the Transformers universe. We get Action Man, no, Hasbro universe, not Transformers, Autobots, Mask. We also get Micronauts, ROM, and Visionaries. We also get a little bit of an advert here for the Transformers newest collection of IDW comics. Really, really cool. I'm covering these on the channel as well. And a couple of G.I. Joe adverts. Transformers My Little Pony Magic of Cybertron. I would give that a miss if you don't like My Little Pony, because it's very much more inspired by those. And then I have no clue what this one is. None at all. The back, Hasbro Pulse. So for me, this is awesome. Issue number 2 in the bag. 100% recommend picking these up. This seems like a really, really, really interesting storyline. At the moment, obviously, I think it's only running for 5 issues, but I really do hope that this is something that they carry on. I hope it runs for more than 5 issues. I'm really enjoying to see how everything is different, but is also bringing in some similarities from the original continuities and things like that. Love it. Loving this take. Let me know your thoughts on this and everything else down in the comments, and I'll see you in my next video. Alright guys, in a bit. Peace!